Hello and welcome to Al Jazeera live from Doha. I'm Imran Garta. France and Britain are now looking to convince the UN to impose sanctions on Libya, plus claiming victory. The protesters who say they are in control of the east. As the violence continues, so do the evacuations. Tens of thousands are heading out of the country. Also ahead, angry over the economy, the Irish begin voting and it's not looking good for the ruling party. The international community is finally taking steps to address the rapidly deteriorating situation in Libya. The UN and NATO say they'll hold emergency talks on Friday. A joint French-British draft resolution will be tabled at a UN Security Council meeting, asking for an arms embargo, financial sanctions and a request to the International Criminal Court to indict Libyan leaders for crimes against humanity. Germany is also calling for travel bans to be imposed on the family of Muammar Gaddafi and for their overseas funds to be frozen. NATO Secretary-General Anders Fogh Rasmussen has convened an emergency meeting. He says priority must be given to evacuation and possibly humanitarian assistance. All of this as the Libyan government announced through state television an increase in wages and food subsidies. Here's Lawrence Lee with the latest.
According to Muammar Gaddafi, there's every chance these people are either members of Al-Qaeda or high on hallucinogenic drugs. Some of them are certainly in terrible pain. They're people from the town of AlJazeera who tried to fight Gaddafi's forces when they stormed the town. In his telephone address to AlJazeera on Libyan television, Gaddafi seemed to imply that they deserved it.
The demands come from bin Laden. You, Zawiya people, are substituting the popular and Jamahiriya system with bin Laden. Bin Laden cells have been operating here for months. His operatives are provoking and brainwashing your children, inciting them to launch attacks. The enemy perpetrating the killings of our children, operating from mosques or elsewhere. Bin Laden and his operatives are providing your children with hallucination pills. Those are the true perpetrators. Arrest them and bring them to court.
Yet one person who spoke to Al Jazeera from the town before Gaddafi's address said plainly that they were protesting peacefully in the main square, their main demand a constitution. He said the army came and butchered people.
We asked them to stop all their fires, but they didn't reply. The shooting was direct to the people. They shot the people in the head and in the chest, direct. So they were trying to kill the people, not terrifying them.
It's the kind of thing that some in the outside world are now pushing to have investigated as potentially crimes against humanity. And yet Libyan TV appears happy to keep producing pictures of either dead or half-dead protesters to try to put the fear into the opposition. If the west of Libya near Tripoli remains the most volatile, then more and more footage emerges of triumphalist scenes from Benghazi in the east, suggesting Gaddafi and his forces have lost half their country. Gaddafi keeps repeating claims of drug-taking by the protesters, yet these pictures, said to be from Benghazi airport, allege that pro-Gaddafi forces shot off hundreds of rounds while drugged and drunk on vodka. Certainly some of the captured mercenaries don't look anything like as fearsome when the guns are taken off them.
My people are dying in here because Muammar Gaddafi is killing us, because we are dying, because we are fighting till we die.
One of the notable aspects of the Gaddafi phone call was his observation that he didn't much care anymore what was happening in his country. For a man who's assumed he was all-powerful for 4 decades, all of this must be bewildering.
As the Arab proverb says, if you carry a leaking water bag, it will make your back wet, and it is your responsibility. It is none of my concern anymore.
Libya may not quite be at tipping point, but it all depends now on what happens in Tripoli. These newly released images are said to be from a suburb of the capital and, intriguingly, don't show much in the way of pro-Gaddafi security. If the opposition has been regrouping, it wouldn't be a surprise if there was a fresh attempt to end it all. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Libya's ambassador to Jordan has resigned in protest over the killing of his countrymen. Mohammed al-Barghouti is the latest of several diplomats and politicians who've stepped down or voiced their opposition to the violent crackdown.
Our great people, at this difficult moment that our nation faces, people are dying in a bloody confrontation. It is unimaginable and unbelievable.
Well, we're joined now by Ibrahim Jibril, a Libyan political activist. Thanks a lot once again for staying with us. We've been hearing your thoughts as we've gone along. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to ask you once again to revisit what Gaddafi has been saying recently. You were watching the report that had clips of his address yesterday, and you were smiling and chuckling a little bit. This sort of absurd, patriarchal, my children don't step out of line tone that he is still using to the Libyan people. What does that suggest to you?
But it's also a tone that is very condescending. And it's a tone that is now, has never been, but is now more so uncaring. To the extent that he says, I really don't care about you anymore. And then at the very end, I think, number one, we highly doubt that this is actually Gaddafi speaking, by the way, just for the record.
Okay. Why?
Because the sound is not his, clearly. Secondly, this is not his character.
So why would he do that on state TV then? Why would somebody else? I mean, obviously,
that's a great question.
I mean, why would he get somebody else to?
That's a great question. It may be, number one, that he is not available, but he wants to get a message out. He was trying to talk to a Zawiya particularly. It may be that he is not in a place where a camera cannot get to, and many other possibilities. It may be he's not in the country at all. So all of these are possibilities, but we don't know. But there is high uncertainty that the voice we heard yesterday was his, but let's assume that it is his. So the content of what was said yesterday, his or not, he approved it, by the way. Even if it was somebody else, they cannot speak without his approval. So he knows the content. And the content was a message, again, a condescending message to the Libyan people. And even when he acknowledged that some had died, his acknowledgement was condolences for 4 people who are security forces people, as if those are the only ones that died in the last week or so, not more than 1,000 people that have died. But I was snickering as he was talking because of the fact that the message continues to indicate a person who is totally out of touch, not out of touch with the Libyan people, but out of touch even with reality in general.
Well, the fact that he's specifically addressing the people in Zawiya suggests that he's not out of touch with reality, doesn't it? Because it indicates fear, given Zawiya's proximity to the capital, that if that place is lost, Tripoli could be next.
Absolutely. Surely. The idea is he is out of touch with reality in the sense that if he thinks that he has a chance to recoup and regroup and recapture Libya, then he is dreaming, because that is not going to happen. Libya has already slipped out of his hands. You are absolutely right that he is aware